She's not in love with you. She's in love with her idea of you. Think about that for a second. The way she looks at you, the way her eyes light up, the way she seems almost enchanted, it feels personal, it feels real, it feels like you've been chosen. But what if I told you it has less to do with who you actually are and more to do with the story she's written in her own mind? Ever notice how quickly some women attach themselves, as if they already know you, as if they've been waiting for you their entire life? It feels flattering, intoxicating even. But here's the hidden danger. She isn't responding to you, the man in flesh and blood. She's responding to an inner picture, a shadow she's carried for years, maybe decades. And when you buy into it, when you mistake her projection for love, you set yourself up for heartbreak. Because the moment she sees cracks in the illusion, the moment your humanity doesn't match her inner image, the disillusionment begins. Suddenly, you're not the man she thought you were. But here's the truth, you never were. The harsh reality, her attraction isn't proof of your worth. It's proof of her imagination. She's not meeting you. She's meeting her own unconscious dream. And if you don't see this, you'll fall headfirst into the Animus Trap, the prison of being loved, not for who you are, but for who she wants you to be. Carl Jung, one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century, believed that inside every human being lives a hidden opposite, what he called the anima and animus. For men, the anima is the inner feminine. For women, the animus is the inner masculine. These inner figures aren't just abstract ideas. They shape how we perceive, love, and even obsess over others. When a woman looks at a man, she isn't just seeing him. She's seeing through the lens of her inner masculine, her animus. It's like a projector casting an image on a blank screen. The man becomes that screen, and onto it, she casts all her hopes, ideals, fantasies, and unfulfilled longings about masculinity. This is why Jung insisted that relationships are never just between two people. There's always a third presence in the room, the projection of the unconscious. It explains why women often fall so deeply, so suddenly, so irrationally. They aren't falling for the man's reality, his flaws, his character, his soul. They're falling for the image that lives within themselves, reflected back through him. When Jung speaks of the animus, he is not simply describing psychology. He is describing a trap in which man can mistake being idolized for being known. And unless you see it for what it is, you'll forever be caught in her story, not your own. At the heart of Jung's insight is this unsettling truth. Women often love not the man himself, but the animus projection he awakens within them. This projection is a composite of everything she believes about masculinity: strength, intellect, courage, mystery, and sometimes even danger. It isn't born from who you are, but from what her unconscious longs to see. Think of it this way. A man may be gentle, thoughtful, and grounded. Yet to a woman caught in projection, he may suddenly appear as a heroic figure, the answer to her unspoken dreams. He becomes, in her eyes, more than he really is. The glow she sees does not come from him, but from the light of her own psyche, reflected and magnified upon his frame. This is why relationships that begin with overwhelming passion so often end in confusion. At first, the man feels chosen, seen and valued beyond measure. It is intoxicating. But over time, as the projection begins to fade, he notices the shift. The awe in her eyes dims, the pedestal crumbles, and what's left is the ordinary man he has always been, which for her feels like a betrayal. But here lies the paradox. She isn't wrong for projecting. Jung believes projection is part of how we grow. By seeing her inner masculine in you, she is invited to confront it, reclaim it, and integrate it within herself. The problem arises when the man confuses projection with genuine love, and when the woman refuses to take back her projection, preferring fantasy over reality. For the man, the danger is twofold. First, he may surrender his authenticity in an attempt to match the image she sees. He becomes an actor, living not as himself, but as her imagined hero. Second, he may build his sense of worth on her projection, mistaking borrowed light for his own flame. When she withdraws it, he collapses, lost without the illusion that once made him feel powerful. The truth Jung presses upon us is hard but liberating. You cannot live up to another person's projection, nor should you. The animus is not a recognition of your essence. It is her inner journey spilling outward. If you take it personally, you become trapped in a role you were never meant to play. Instead, the task is to recognize projection for what it is. See her attraction, her devotion, even her obsession, not as evidence of your greatness, but as evidence of her psyche at work. If you can do this, you protect yourself from the inevitable disillusionment. You stand firm in your reality, grounded in your own individuation. And here's the irony. It is precisely when you stop playing the role of her fantasy that true connection becomes possible. Because when the projection breaks and both stand stripped of illusion, there lies the chance, however fragile, for authentic love to begin. This is the core of the Animus Trap. To mistake projection for truth is to live in someone else's dream. To recognize projection and stay grounded in your own self is to step out of the trap and into freedom. If you've ever been in a relationship where you felt like you were being adored beyond reason, you've probably tasted the Animus Trap without even realizing it. Think back. Maybe she looked at you as though you were her savior, her protector, her dream come to life. In those moments, it almost felt too good to be true. And that's because it was. At first, it's intoxicating. She hangs on your every word. She tells you that you're unlike anyone she's ever met. She builds you up with compliments that feel almost surreal, as though she sees something in you that you've never seen in yourself. And part of you begins to believe it. Part of you wants it to be true. But then, the cracks appear. Suddenly, the qualities she once worshipped become sources of disappointment. The same man she once called strong, she now accuses of being cold. The depth she admired in your silences now becomes a lack of communication. What happened? Did you change? Or did she? What actually changed is the projection. In the beginning, she wasn't in love with you. She was in love with the image of her animus reflected in you. And as long as you carried that projection without breaking character, she was infatuated. But the moment reality crept in, when you showed your flaws, your humanity, your differences from her fantasy, the illusion shattered. This is where many men feel blindsided. They ask themselves, was any of it real? Did she ever truly see me? The truth is both painful and liberating. She did see something real, but it wasn't you. It was her own unconscious desire projected outward. And because you didn't know this, you mistook the projection for authentic love. Maybe you felt the sting of this collapse. One day she's telling you that you're everything she ever wanted. The next, she's distant, frustrated, even resentful. You didn't change. You simply failed to keep living up to her inner fantasy, a fantasy no real man could sustain forever. This experience leaves scars. It can make you question your worth, doubt your masculinity, and even fear intimacy. You might start to believe that you're not enough, that if only you were stronger, smarter, or more mysterious, she would have stayed. But that's the lie of the Animus Trap. It convinces you that her withdrawal is proof of your inadequacy, when in reality, it's proof that the projection was never yours to hold in the first place. If this resonates, you know how disorienting it is. You've lived the high of being someone's fantasy and the low of being discarded when reality broke through. And now perhaps you're left wondering how to escape this cycle before it swallows you again. Here's the paradox Jung forces us to face. The very thing that draws her to you is the same thing that will one day drive her away. The projection of the animus feels like love, looks like love, even intoxicates like love. But it isn't love. It is her unconscious using you as a canvas to paint its unfinished picture of masculinity. And here's the cruel twist. The more you try to live up to that image, the faster the illusion decays, because no man can endlessly embody a fantasy. The moment you start bending yourself to fit her projection, you stop being real, and the unconscious hates nothing more than falseness. What she thought was strength becomes fragility. What she saw as brilliance becomes pretense. The projection eats itself alive, and you're left standing in the ruins. The deeper truth is that projection isn't evil, it's necessary. Jung argued that projection is how the unconscious teaches us. By falling for her image of you, she's really falling for a piece of herself that she hasn't yet owned. And by being caught in that projection, you're given a chance to confront the same lesson. Are you willing to remain authentic even when someone else demands you be their fantasy? So the revelation is this: her devotion was never proof of your greatness, and her withdrawal is not proof of your inadequacy. Both were movements of her psyche, not reflections of your worth. To see this clearly is to step out of the trap. This changes everything. It reframes her sudden distance, her unpredictable shifts, her disappointment, not as your failure, but as her psyche at work. It means you no longer have to take the blame for her inner battles. And it means that true connection can only begin when projection ends. The paradox, then, is that love only becomes possible after the illusion shatters. As long as she's in love with her animus, she can't truly love you. And as long as you're flattered by her projection, you can't truly love her. Only when both stand bare, stripped of fantasy, does something real have a chance to grow. So how do you escape the Animus Trap? How do you prevent yourself from being swallowed by someone else's projection while still engaging in love and intimacy? The answer isn't to withdraw from relationships, nor is it to harden yourself into cold detachment. It's about awareness and grounding. First, recognize projection for what it is. When a woman adores you with an intensity that feels disproportionate, don't mistake it as a mirror of your true self. Ask, is she seeing me, or is she seeing her own inner masculine through me? This question alone creates distance between the illusion and your identity. Second, stay rooted in your own authenticity. The trap only tightens when you abandon yourself to fit her fantasy. Resist the urge to exaggerate traits she admires just to keep her devotion. If she projects strength onto you, don't pretend to be invincible. If she imagines you as endlessly wise, don't perform wisdom. Ground yourself in your reality, even when it risks breaking her illusion. Third, set boundaries with compassion. When her projection shifts into disappointment or criticism, don't spiral into self-doubt. Instead, calmly acknowledge her feelings without letting them define you. Boundaries are not walls, they are clarity. They remind both of you where she ends and you begin. Fourth, commit to your own individuation. Jung's answer to projection was never to destroy it, but to outgrow it. Keep investing in your self-discovery, your passions, and your personal growth. The more whole you become within yourself, the less vulnerable you are to being distorted by someone else's unfinished story. And finally, invite her to her own growth. If she is willing, help her see that the qualities she worships in you also live within her. This is not your job to force, but your opportunity to support. If she integrates her animus, the relationship can evolve beyond projection into authenticity. The truth is, projection will always happen. You can't stop it, but you can choose whether to get trapped in it. Awareness, boundaries, and authenticity are your tools. Use them and you free yourself to love, not as an illusion, but as a man fully alive in his own reality. Imagine what your life looks like when you finally step out of the Animus Trap. No longer are you confused by the sudden highs and lows of a woman's affection. No longer do you mistake her projection for your worth or her withdrawal for your failure. Instead, you stand firm, rooted in who you are, not who she wants you to be. Think about the freedom this brings. You don't chase validation because you no longer need her fantasy to feel significant. You stop performing, stop bending, stop contorting yourself into a role. You start living as yourself, unapologetically, authentically, unshaken by the illusions cast upon you. In this state, relationships feel different. You see the projection when it comes, but instead of drowning in it, you stay afloat. You can enjoy the admiration without being deceived by it, and you can withstand the disappointment without collapsing under it. You stop asking, "What does she want me to be?" and start asking, "Am I living in truth with myself?" Over time, this changes not only your relationships, but your entire presence as a man. People feel it. She feels it. There is a calm strength in you, a man who cannot be seduced by illusion or destroyed by disillusionment. A man who meets projection with awareness, who meets disappointment with steadiness, and who meets love with clarity. And here's the deeper shift. Once you no longer depend on her fantasy, you create space for something real. Authentic connection, built not on projections, but on two individuals meeting as they truly are. You become the man who can love without losing himself, who can be admired without being consumed, and who can walk away when illusion demands his surrender. This is the identity of a man who has outgrown the Animus Trap. Not a role, not a fantasy, but a grounded, individuated self. A man who is no longer caught in her idea of him because he has become complete in his own. If this message struck a chord with you, it's because deep down you already know the truth. Too many men lose themselves in the projections of women. They chase after approval, validation, or the fantasy of being the one, only to wake up and realize they've been living someone else's story, not their own. But here's the choice you face now. You can continue down that path, repeating the same cycles, falling into the same illusions, or you can step into awareness. You can become the man who sees the game for what it is, who refuses to be defined by another's fantasy, and who lives from a place of grounded strength. This is not just about dating or relationships. This is about reclaiming your life, your direction, your very identity as a man. And if you're ready for that transformation, ready to stop being predictable, ready to stop being consumed by projections, then don't just watch this video and move on. Subscribe, tag a brother who needs to hear this truth, share this message with men who are trapped and don't even know it. Together, we rise above illusion. Together, we become unshakable.